Hello and welcome back. Chances are if you clicked on this video, you might already know who I am or be familiar with my content. If not, my name is Courtney and I'm going to be answering your questions. About a few weeks ago, I asked you guys what are some questions you have for me that you want answered. It's been about a year since my last Q&A. This community has grown so much this past year, and I know there's a lot of new people here, so I thought this would be a good video for me to kind of have you, get to know me a little bit better and also answer those questions that you might have. So without further ado, let's dive into today's video. Thank you to everyone that submitted a question on my community tab. I post on there pretty regularly, so thank you for giving me feedback and giving me some questions. I also had a little story post on my Instagram where I also asked people on IG, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to be filming a video. So if you submitted a question through Instagram, thank you so much for asking a question. I did get some repeat questions that I have answered in previous Q&As, so I will probably be linking those videos in this video just so I don't have to repeat myself and waste time talking for a long time about something I've already answered. So if you hear me reference, a past video or have a pop-up card show up, I'll also try to link all those videos in my description box below so they are easy to find. So let's dive into these questions. I'm going to start off with more of the personal questions and then go transition over to the crystal questions. So the first kind of personal question is just wanting to know more about my background. So I have pretty much lived in California my whole life. I grew up in Calabasas, California. I know there's definitely a stigma with Calabasas, thinking like everyone's super rich that lives there. But I did not live in a mansion or have a bunch of money or anything like that. I had a very normal life. When I was in high school, I really did discover my passion for film production. I kind of had it set in my mind that I really wanted to be a producer. I loved films. I wanted to work in TV. Living, on the outskirts of LA, a lot of people in that community work in the entertainment industry, and that was really my goal, was to work in the entertainment industry. I ended up meeting my boyfriend when I was in college. We were both studying film production, and we've honestly been creating content together ever since we met. So even on my channel today, when there's ever, a shot of me doing something, and obviously I'm not filming myself, that's my boyfriend helping me out. We definitely have a really good chemistry with creating, and I'm thankful that we're able to mesh so well with fulfilling each other's visions. My boyfriend and I have been dating for almost 8 years. Crazy. We moved in together in 2020, right at the beginning of 2020. And also during 2020, I had kind of like a career switch. I went from working in the entertainment industry to now working in social media. And I really like social media, I will say. I'm still able to kind of produce, everything I've learned from working in the entertainment industry really translates over to how I operate now doing social media and creating content. So I'm really thankful for really everything that I've really done in my life, following my passions. It all kind of goes full circle. And I really do believe if you know what you love, if you follow your passion, and you're open to what can happen out in the universe, if you stay true to your roots, those opportunities and those things will just come to you. So that's just something I've noticed as I've gotten older, I guess. All right, next question. That was kind of like my formal background, I guess, kind of getting to know me better. Other interests I have other than crystals. I honestly love animals. I love playing with dogs. My boyfriend's family has dogs, and I love going over there and hanging out with his dogs. I love going outside. I love walking. I love running. I really do like taking care of my body, eating healthy foods. I'm a pescatarian, so I eat fish and I also eat eggs. I know some pescatarians don't eat eggs, but I do eat eggs. I love music. I love live music. I love going to shows. I have gone to raves, I've gone to festivals. I definitely like EDM music. I like all kinds of music, to be honest. I like to dance and honestly explore my area. So I live in Santa Monica. I love going out on the weekends, looking at different like coffee shops, lunch spots, going out to dinner. You know, it's fun kind of exploring the city out here. And that's definitely something I do on the weekends. Another question I got is, how old am I? I am actually turning 30 this year. I'm gonna have a golden birthday. My birthday is May 30th and I'll be turning 30 on my 30th, so it's my golden birthday. I'm currently 29, but I'm approaching 30 and I'm excited. And then the last personal question that I'll be covering is, what are my origins and are there any spiritual traditions in my family? So I am Greek. I'm a Greek girl. My mom is Greek, my dad is Greek. So I've definitely grown up with kind of like Greek traditions. Also growing up, I lived in a Christian household. There was a period in my life when I was younger where I would go to church like every Sunday. It wasn't really an option, I just went. And as far as like traditions, like spiritual traditions, there really weren't any besides like going, you know, I also went to Greek Orthodox church. And in that case, you know, baptisms, I was baptized when I was little. And also weddings, you know, going to weddings at Greek Orthodox churches. When I was little, I always thought I'd get married in the Greek Orthodox church, but now I don't think I'm gonna do that. Kind of me and my boyfriend have talked about it, and I'm just not really in that scene anymore. I don't go to church, so it doesn't really make sense that I would get married at a Greek church. I personally would love to get married outside, so we'll see how that goes when that happens. Also, just as far as like my family, I would say that I'm definitely more of the far out ones, I guess. All right, so now we can kind of transition over to more of those crystal questions that I got that I would love to answer. So the first one that I'm going to cover is, what are some crystals that we shouldn't pair together? So this is a really good question. I actually have a video talking about crystal pairings. If you want to check that out, I will link it for you. But basically, like for me, I don't have like specifics in my head that I can tell you like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. You know, for me, I kind of look at it as, what is the vibration or the energy of that crystal? So for example, you wouldn't really want to pair together a super high vibrational crystal with like a calming crystal, because it's gonna affect our energy in a way that it's gonna be confused. I don't think it's harmful. I think that it may just not serve the purpose you're looking for, because you're putting a combination together that you don't know which way, you know, one's up here, the other one's down here, like on our chakra system. It can be kind of weird for our body. So those are kind of like pairings that you don't really want to pair together. In that video, I kind of talk about this, and also just, you know, picking crystals to pair with that are in the same chakra family. Like that's awesome. That's great. You can kind of look at the color of the crystal. You know, if you are working with pink crystals, you know, those are going to go really well together. Purple crystals, you know, whatever you have in your collection. But I don't have a specific answer as to, you know, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. I don't know. You know, I am not a crystal healer, so I'm not 100% sure, but there are definitely some guidelines you can follow with picking out what the vibration is and what you're trying to attract or trying to receive from the crystals. I got a question on Instagram asking, you know, about Moldavite, kind of like a Moldavite update, which is pretty funny because I'm actually getting ready to film a Moldavite crystal meaning video. I can't believe it's almost been 10 months. I think it's been 9 months since I got Moldavite. Time has really gone by so fast. I was actually thinking, I can't believe I was gonna do an update video and I don't know what happened with that one, honestly. So I'll definitely, when I do my Moldavite crystal meaning video, I will be giving like a good update with everything I've noticed so far. I will say though, what I have noticed is I do think that we go through kind of like this honeymoon stage with Moldavite. When we first get Moldavite or when you're starting to experiment with it, it's almost like it's your newfound love. You always want to be around it. You're thinking about it all the time. And it's very strong. You feel that strong connection. And then it kind of, as time goes on, it kind of fades in the background. And I think this is very common. And then you may notice that you're feeling that pull again randomly. I mean, this happened to me. I was like, oh my gosh, why am like all of a sudden like Moldavite was calling to me again, and it had been like dormant for so long. So I definitely will dive into, talking about Moldavite in that video and what I've noticed these past 10 months. So stay tuned for that one. I got a question asking, I'm new to crystals, which ones should I work with? I actually have a video on I think it's 10 crystal recommendations for a crystal newbie. So I will link that for you to check out. If you're watching this and you're brand new to crystals and you want to know some good recommendations to start with, it's a great video to watch. I really cover everything in that video. I got a question about how to store crystals. Is it okay if crystals are stored like in a box with like the box being closed, like having your crystals closed off, like not out in the open? Personally, I think that this is okay to have a mixture of both. All of my smaller like crystal gridding small crystals are like in pouches and they're like in a drawer, so they're not really seeing light. And then I also have crystals behind me that are out in the open, and crystals placed in my home that are out in the open. I think it's okay to have crystals in like a closed area, but I mean, it is like I am mindful with the fact that those crystals are closed off. So, once a month when I make my crystal grids, I take all the crystals out and I kind of do like a little cleansing. I want to reset them all. So I do pay attention to them. You just have to kind of make it part of your routine to not forget about the crystals that are in the dark, because their energy is just closed off. You do want to let them breathe, put them out in the sun if you can. Let them get a good sun charge if they're crystals that you need to keep in a closed container. I mean, hey, we can't all have our crystals out. There's going to be certain situations where we have to store our crystals, and maybe it's with a lid on top and they're dark. Just be mindful of the fact that they are in the dark. I also got multiple questions about how I got started with crystals, like what kind of got me interested in crystals, those basic kind of like questions, which I actually have made a video talking about. I have a video called Getting Started with Crystals, and I talk about my experience. So I'll definitely have a pop-up card show up right now if you want to learn more about my experience getting started with crystals, and how it can really relate to maybe you if you're just starting to get into crystals. Next question is, what are some crystal resources that I trust? So I definitely look at my crystal books first when I get a new crystal that I'm not really aware of or I want to learn more about. I have a whole video talking about my favorite crystal books that I use that I'll link. But, a lot of people really look online for, resources about crystals, and I do too. I would say, when I'm searching online, I really love to look at crystal vaults. I really like their descriptions. I feel like they're really in depth and I really resonate with what they write about. So that's definitely an online source that I really, really trust and go to. I also love looking at Energy Muse. They have like a whole crystal encyclopedia on their website. So I definitely check out Energy Muse as well. And then, if you're kind of like confused about a crystal, like you're not really sure, one of the things I also do is I'll just look at a bunch of resources and I'll kind of find like the key words or like the key like repeating things that everyone's talking about and kind of make my own crystal definition for the crystal that I just got. It's kind of like working with your intuition, trying to figure out what this crystal really brings to the table. Just gonna look off screen for a second for this question. How do you use crystals, specific crystals, for a certain event? Like if you wanna manifest a certain thing, boost your confidence for a certain event, attract something for your life to happen. kind of sounds like how to work with a crystal to manifest things in your life, kind of. So for me, when I have like a goal or an intention, the first thing I think about is what crystal kind of has that vibration, has that frequency, has that built into its, core element. So for example, if I want to be more conscious of maybe being healthier or working out more, something like that, I'll kind of think, okay, what's a crystal that matches that vibration really well? Let's say I pick carnelian. Sorry if you heard those crows. So I picked carnelian. In that case, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna have carnelian in my kitchen. I'm gonna put it there so when I'm in the kitchen, I'm thinking about how I wanna be more fit. Maybe I'll pick it up when I'm in the kitchen and I'll hold it. And then maybe instead of grabbing a cookie or whatever, I'll grab an apple. It's kind of like those little intentional like ways to work with the crystal where you're being brought back to that intention, that goal, and working with that crystal, placing it strategically somewhere in your home or just having it somewhere where you're going to see it every day. Visually looking at crystals, we can connect with them, if I want to manifest something, I make it part of my routine. That's a really big thing for me. I love waking up in the morning and programming my water with, my crystal straw or whatever I'm doing. Maybe I have a juice and I programmed my juice. I just do the things that I do every day and I incorporate crystals into those things. So it is kind of like self-reflecting on like writing down what is your day-to-day and then where could you place crystals intermixing with that. I feel like for me, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of easy for me to just have crystals all around and I just pick them up. Like I definitely get energy from crystals by just picking them up. Like I love holding them, but also I get energy by visually looking at them, being around them. So it really is kind of like up to you to make up a routine and incorporate crystals into your routine. I hope that makes sense. Next question, if someone drops a crystal and then hands it to you, what are you supposed to do? So I think this question is kind of like, energetically, like the crystal fell, it got picked up and put in your hand. Is it causing like a negative reaction? Personally, I don't find that this would cause anything negative to happen because I don't believe that it would. But I do know that some religions and cultures, there are certain situations like that where that is looked at as kind of like a negative thing, or you need to be like worried or wary of situations like that. I would say, personally, I think it's fine if something dropped and someone handed it to me. I wouldn't think twice about it. But if you do think twice about it and you are kind of like, oh, I feel like that's kind of like bad energy, definitely like cleanse your hands. Clean your hands, cleanse your hands, cleanse the crystal. If it was your crystal that dropped, cleanse your crystal. If you were out crystal shopping and this happened and someone did that and handed it to you, you could put the crystal back down, walk away, cleanse your hands, wash your hands in that type of situation. So it really is up to you. Do you feel like it's a bad thing? Do you feel like, oh, it's nothing? Whatever you really feel in that moment, you can kind of rationalize and see what you think would be best. Which piece in my collection has the most rainbows? I love this question. I actually had to think about this and I was like, which one does have the most rainbows? I wasn't completely sure, but I was thinking it was a clear quartz, and I was right. My crystal that has the most rainbows in it is this fire and ice clear quartz. There are so many rainbows in here. I kind of blanked on the answer for this. I had to go back and look. Someone asked how long I've been collecting crystals. I've been collecting crystals for 5 years. Woo. Next question was asking about what kind of crystals to take to the office, kind of some combos to work with. Personally, I love working with fluorite. Fluorite in the workspace I think is awesome. It really helps you kind of focus and do tasks so good. Wearing a fluorite bracelet to work, having fluorite in your car as you commute to work, little life hacks like that can really benefit you when you're ready to start working. I also think that honey calcite can be a really good aid for work life if you have kind of like a job that's super tedious. Maybe you have to really focus at your job, whatever it may be. Honey calcite kind of helps you and gives that energetic support to keep going. Also, sodalite is a really, really great crystal for the workplace as well, because it really does make our mind work in an analytical way and also a heightened like intuition way, which is great in the workspace. You want to use your intuition and also have this analytical like smartness going on when you're working. Also, shungite is a really great crystal for the office or for working. It kind of clears any negativity, maybe people at your work you don't really vibe with, so having like shungite with you is great. Even, if you work remotely, I've noticed having shungite next to me, I just feel like the workday is really good with online interactions and everything. Next question, which crystal started it all for me? So I actually got my first crystals on Valentine's Day in 2017 from my boyfriend. He knew I'd been talking about crystals a lot, and I kind of hinted like, oh, I really want a crystal. So for Valentine's Day, he actually gifted me a couple. And I can't really remember all of them, but I do remember some of them. I know one of them was rose quartz. I got a rose quartz tower because I was like, oh, it's Valentine's Day. This is perfect. I also got a sphere of honey calcite, but at the time I thought it was citrine, but it's definitely not citrine. It's like a calcite, honey calcite. And then I also got a cherry quartz double terminated crystal, which cherry quartz is a man-made stone that I found out later, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I do believe I got amethyst, but I can't remember if he gifted it to me or I just went crystal shopping like shortly after and bought amethyst because it was one that I really wanted. But those were kind of like the crystals. Since I got a bunch, like my first, experience with crystals, I had like 3 or 4 that I got. So those are the crystals that started it all for me. And then the last crystal question, or the last question for this Q&A, is why did I start working with crystals? I definitely do touch upon this in my how to get started with crystals, or getting started with crystals. I talk about this, but why not just reiterate a little bit my why? Why did I start working with crystals? Honestly, I was going through a spiritual awakening at the time. Crystals were really the catalyst to me going down the spiritual path. I just felt this pull to want to learn more about them. And I feel like when you're going through a spiritual awakening, there are a lot of different elements that you can get attracted to. Spirituality is very broad. There's so many subjects, and crystals are like a little sliver in there. And that was like the main thing I wanted to learn about more. And from learning more about crystals opened the door to all the other aspects of spirituality for me in my personal experience. So really my why was my spiritual awakening was happening. Alrighty, so that is it for today's video. Again, thank you guys so much for asking these questions. They were really awesome questions. It was fun for me to kind of talk more about myself. I know I don't talk about myself a lot on my channel, and I totally understand, wanting to know more about me. So I'm happy to answer some kind of like introduction questions about who I am in my life. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you are new here, hello, welcome. Definitely check out some of my other videos if you're interested, and I would love it if you subscribed. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you in my next one.